Welcome, Leeza, to the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks for having me.
I don't know if you know this, but we're celebrating something big today.
Oh, we're celebrating? I'm always up for a celebration.
Yes, it's a party here. So we are celebrating 100 episodes. You're the 100th Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast.
Woohoo!
So,
That's great.
Which is
Congratulations.
big. Thank you.
Yeah, you should be very proud. Recognizing milestones is important, and a big one like this is legendary. That's epic.
3 numbers. So, and when I started, I was, sometimes I just say, just start, right? And when I started, I just wanted to do it perfectly, of course, and it hasn't always been perfectly, but done is better than perfect sometimes. So just getting it out there. So it's pretty exciting to have that celebration. So thank you.
I'm so glad you said that, though, because I think we do stop ourselves, right? We want it to be perfect. That's our excuse for not moving forward. I mean, if that were the case, nothing would ever get done. And things are really perfect in their imperfection. So perfect's not the goal. You're doing it. I really admire that.
Yeah, and hopefully it seems doable for other people to share their story. That's also the hope on the Whole Care Network. Is part of the network that the podcast belongs to, is just really about sharing stories. And if you make it hard, then the stories don't get out there.
Right. Right. Or if you start thinking my story's not big enough or good enough or important enough or transformative enough or all those other things that we tell ourselves, who am I to share my story? Why would anybody want to hear what I have to say? Those are the kinds of self-doubts that really do limit us. And you're a great example of, you had a dream, you made it happen.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a work in progress for sure. Well, when I first started, I can't remember if I started the podcast. I think Mom might have been with my sister by that time. But when Susie, my sister, took primary care reins from Mom, from me to her, I made her this jar because I just felt like I was putting this huge burden on my sister, and I wanted to have a little bit of not just me, but people that I love what they say and respect. And so I have gathered all these quotes. I know you're a quote person.
Yeah, we do share that.
Yeah, so I pulled one for you today, and I would love to get your thoughts on what the Happy Healthy Caregiver jar. You just never know what it's got in here. So it says, in order to carve out more time to take better care of ourselves, we need to adjust the boundaries in some of our relationships.
Yes.
So it's Self-Care Awareness Month too, September.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So for boundaries, what are your thoughts on?
I think, there's a lot of ways to look at that term of boundaries and how it applies to us in our physical space, needing to retreat, needing to take a break. Most things work better when we unplug them for a while and walk away. We do too. So I think that's one boundary of recognizing when we've reached the end of our limit and knowing what that limit is. I also think boundaries of people in our lives becomes really significant. I always say when things don't add up, you should start subtracting. And I've really had to subtract and release with love people in my life that really are toxic. So I think that having those boundaries, first of all, in order to do any of this, Elizabeth, we have to know that we have value. We have to know our worth. And if we recognize that, then we have an easier time with the values. Can I tell you about a system that I came up with?
Yes.
That's so random because it makes so much sense that you would pull that one for me today. Life's kind of perfect that way. I came up with something which, I'm from the South. I'm a people pleaser. I want to say yes. Sometimes yes gets me into trouble. So I came up with a yes system, which stands for Your Empowerment System. And I look at, what do I need to feel empowered? And, I need to feel rested, and I need to feel like I have time, and I need to feel people are respecting me, respecting my boundaries, that my opinion values, whatever it means for everyone listening to us today. Come up with what, empowers you. And then if someone asks you to do something, you'll know because you've done that work. If it fits in your empowerment system, then say, yes, that's great. But if it doesn't, and someone has asked you, to be the last one at work again and lock up, or asked you to be the one to, bring the cookies for the bake sale again, or asked you, those things that we get dumped on and we say yes and then we get resentful. Knowing that doesn't empower me, that makes me upset and makes me mad at myself that I said yes. So I'm going to say no. And then, of course, the requisite sidebar to that is learning to say no effectively and definitively.
Yes. Yes. And there's some sweet Southern ways. I'm in Atlanta, so I've got thank you so much for considering me. That's just, I'm in the season of life. I can't take that on right now. Or I love that you brought up your empowerment zone, because I have read that about you. And I also, I'm reading your Fierce Optimism book. So I was going to sprinkle some of that in and I'm not done with it, because I like to, it's like one of those books where you just don't want to like plow through it. You want to just read a little bit and apply it and think about it and meditate on it for a little bit.
But that's because you're the quintessential student. This I know.
Thank you. It says, don't try to balance your time, invest in the right things, especially in yourself, and the dividends are huge. So you wrote that. That's awesome.
I think that if we think of ourselves, many of us are like good at managing our time in business, and then our personal lives get a little amorphous. But if you look at it as a business and you look at it not trying to find that center of the seesaw, which does not exist, but you're investing in expecting that investment's going to come out. If you go to the gym, you're busy, you're working late, you go to the gym, you miss your meditation, you miss your spiritual walk, whatever's important to you, you feel out of balance. But where you choose to spend that time is going to come back. Say you're taking night classes because you need to be, you want to create a better life for your children, or you want to create a more independent future for yourself. That's an investment, and that dividend will come back big time, even though your life's kind of not balanced right now. It's okay.
Right. I think in some ways for me, I've always thought of self-care as a synonym for energy. Like if I'm lacking energy, then I need to tap in and get more self-care. And you'd mentioned earlier that we need to recharge. And I think sometimes we take better care of our phones than we do our bodies. So
it's true.
Yes.
It's really true. And to be aware of when you're unraveling, and look, all of us in this little powwow here, we know that, you unravel financially and spiritually and emotionally and physically, and you're just in this kind of constant state of depletion. And to recognize that, and you're a great reminder, honestly, you and people like you who know where to go to get refilled. You seem to really know where to go to nourish and recharge and renew, so you can rejoin your life already in progress, feeling like you have had a battery charge. I think that's really important.
Well, thank you. I think for me, it's been a journey, and it's still a journey. And I think, when caregiving and I just was not feeling like my positive, optimistic self, especially in the beginning, for me, I just had to keep kind of trying things on. And like people say meditation helps. People say, spending time in the Bible helps. People say that going outside, like, let me see if this works. And so it's just been kind of like trying it on, and then sharing my journey as I go, because maybe it'll stick with somebody else. We throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall. So thank you for that. I am delighted to have this time to talk to you today. I know you've got a wealth of experience, and I think what I really like about you're my first celebrity caregiver interview, which I'm excited to spotlight you. And the reason why is because when celebrities are doing normal things like normal people and you're caregiving, it really brings attention to these topics and spotlights them and how important they are, and how they need to get that attention that they deserve, especially during this pandemic. So people know you from, your talk show and Dancing with the Stars and The Apprentice, and of course, Entertainment Tonight, which is, but my hunch is that people may not know your caregiving story. So I wanted to just spend a few minutes here kind of highlighting not just Leeza Gibbons, but on the screens, but, who, as a caregiver, what does that package look like for you?
Thank you for asking. First of all, it is it's the path in my life that has made the most sense for me. And so I think that people, when chronic disease or some illness, in my case it was Alzheimer's with my mom, my grandma, breaks into your life, there's this tendency to think, well, life is over. And in many ways, life has changed. It will not be the same. But I think that it took me a while to find my grounding. And I'll just give you an example. When my mother got Alzheimer's disease, I was really at the height of a very big, lucrative, abundant career. And I loved my work, every single minute of it. It was my dream. I loved everything about it. So I was building my career. I was growing my family. Life was really perfect. And then I got this news, and it just didn't make any sense to me. I always thought I was pretty good at anticipating change. I've had, the end of a marriage, and I've had, jobs, shows that have been canceled, and things that happen to all of us in life. But this change was so much more profound. So I went to my agent and said, look, I want to keep working, but I have this idea. I want to create this place because I feel like caregivers, our family is so lost. I want to create what we wish we had. And so I explained it to him, and he was like, oh, this is not a good idea. He pretty much shut it down and said, keep doing your kids' charities. People like that. That's marketable.
Yeah.
And this Alzheimer's is old, and it's depressing, and it's not going to be good for you. And I said, wow, thank you for underscoring how important it is that I start this work, because people feel that way.
Mm.
And one other thing, you're fired.
Yep, there you
It
go.
was
The
right.
boundary.
The
Yes.
boundaries. So it was really, just because you don't get it. And I understood that he thought he was protecting my best interest. But so when my mom got Alzheimer's, she knew where she was headed because her mother had the same disease. So my mother was unbelievably courageous, and was the reason why we were able to, first of all, even acknowledge what she had, because I thought she was an alcoholic.
Oh,
And
wow.
I thought, she's repeating herself. She's not taking care of her hygiene. She's depressed. Let's get her to Betty Ford. Let's have an intervention. I'm the middle kid. I have a big brother and a little sister, and they're wonderful. But I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And my mom was the one that gathered us together and said, I have paid, I think it was the electric bill or something. I paid this 3 times.
Mm.
And she was the one that forced us to look at what was really happening and to get a diagnosis. And it was like I could see her exhale the minute she knew that she could name it and claim it. No one was happy about it. No one wanted this. But you have so much more power over anything once you name it. So that was the beginning of my caregiving journey. And I put those clothes on and put that badge on, and it didn't fit for a very long time.
Mm. Yeah, so no matter who you are, it affects you. It has, and like you said, it's changed your life. And I'm curious, where did you find support when you first started out? What was out there for you? Did you call yourself a caregiver? Did you know what to Google? Did you?
No. And here's what's interesting, and what I now know that I didn't know then. I felt like such an epic failure. Because I was so stressed and so overwhelmed, and we all were, I kept thinking, well, I'm fairly smart. I should be able to figure this out. I'm inventive and resourceful, and I should be able to figure this out. So that made it worse. And I didn't know then that my brain really wasn't able to access what I may have been able to access helping someone else. But our entire systems are under assault. And so being able to get into the filing cabinets of the brain and say, oh, I should do this, and here's the logic, and take this step, you just can't do it for yourself. And I started doing audio recordings that I've never listened to. They were on little micro cassettes, because back then I didn't have the cell phone with the record feature, but I had this little micro cassette machine, little recorder, and I would walk and walk and walk. And I would just sometimes cry and scream and be mad, and I would ask questions, and it helped me to figure it out. Um, and then I had a really good therapist who helped me recognize that I needed I needed to connect with other people.
Mm.
But it's hard.
Yeah.
And people are listening to us may already be in the club. You may be a reluctant recruit already in our army. But even still, these are the people that you end up having to let go because they really don't want to know about it. Some people in your life they don't want you to change. They don't want to talk about how sad you are about your mother or your husband or your spouse, or they don't want to talk about it, and they can't. Those are their limits. So you have to find people that are on your vibe.
Yes, that's such a good point. Your inner circle of people. And, very true. I know you're aware that we had originally had our meeting scheduled, and mom passed away on Wednesday. We were supposed to talk on Friday. I hated writing that email. I was so excited to talk to you. And of course it was a sad time. And so I'm definitely going through the grieving process and just taking advice from my friends on feeling the feels and all of that. And it's interesting to me that I think when you think that like so much is out of control, what's been soothing to me lately is I've been, in between stuff, I've been watching my lunch program, I call it, is the Home Edit. It's on Netflix, and I think Reese Witherspoon is the producer of it, but it's basically these two Instagrammers who go in.
I love them.
I love them. I just finished the season and I was so sad because it makes me feel like I'm in control when I can like see it. And then I go and I literally cleaned out the pantry the other night because it just made me feel better that I could I can clean out the pantry. That's something I can do.
That made sense.
It made
And I
sense.
think in the first episode they did Reese's closet, right?
Yes. It was so
First of all,
fun.
she has my dream closet.
Well, you have a better chance of being on the next season than I do. So you look pretty organized there, but it would be really fun, I think, to.
But that's such a good point. It's like control what you can. Those of us know, I identified myself early on as a control enthusiast, and I made peace with wearing that pretty proudly. But I have, and I think this is a process of getting older. I have, it's an emerging skill I've become much better at letting things go. And when things go wrong, I'm better, not always successful, but better at saying, wow, well, that wasn't as great as you wanted. Too bad you missed the chance to do what you wanted to do there. But there'll be another time, but you did your best. And
Right.
it's my mom's wisdom: show up, do your best, let go of the rest. I'm finally getting the let go of the rest part.
Yes, there is a lot of gifts with aging for sure. So I've noticed some of that as well on that spectrum. So it's good. It's good. So I'm in a new, I don't know if you coined this former caregiver turned advocate, but I'm in a new category now. That's my,
Right.
Yes. And
An FTA.
Yeah, FCTA, yeah, exactly. So what did you have you learned from your caregiving experience? Like, what are some of the lessons that just slapped you in the face from this?
The first thing I learned with my mom, before I really became an advocate, or I didn't know I was an advocate. And I really only became an advocate because she told me to.
So cool.
It is very,
wanted to hide it and just, put it in the background.
My mother was so instrumental in my ability to face all my fears in life. But the biggest fear was, I can't fix this for you. I'm not going to get you back. And she helped me realize that she was still my mom, even through all these stages. And like your mom, until her last breath, and even now, they're still our mothers. Mother's work is never done.
Exactly.
They're still our mothers.
You still hear them up there.
Yeah, our little Jiminy Crickets, and they walk with us, and I do believe that. But my mom said, I said, Mom, I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to help, and I'm scared. And she said, honey, you've been a reporter all your life. That's been your job. You've told other people's stories. So what you do is you just tell the story. And that's what you and I talked about earlier today, is how important it is. Tell the story. Tell it even if no one's listening, is how I feel.
Right.
Tell it even if you're saying it into your voice recorder on your phone. If you're talking to the wall, tell your story. So my journey of becoming an advocate was really inspired by her. But the thing that I learned was, having so many years of being in radio and television, silence is the enemy. You don't want dead air. It's like, oh my gosh, unless you're pausing to put someone, on the defensive to get a better answer, or you're pausing to let them think. You just don't want dead air. So I tended to fill all the time together. Da, 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 da. Did you read this? Did you see that? Did you do that? Da, da, da. All that. I learned to be quieter, not quiet, but quieter. I learned to sit in silence and just be with her. That was something that that's real intimacy. I really didn't know the extent to which I was missing that because of my overbusy, wanting to make things better. So I learned when I was putting lotion on her hands or brushing her hair that was the highest form of communication, and I could just be quiet.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It was one of the first things, but being an advocate, to your point, Elizabeth, I think that we will be, and everyone listening or watching this right now will be the right messenger for someone. You don't know how your words are going to affect someone. You don't know how your story will touch someone. You don't know how you're saying it's okay, or I get it, or letting someone cry in your presence. You don't know how witnessing someone else's path is going to change their path.
That's so true.
So I think just trusting that you just take a step forward, not knowing where it's going to lead you. I learned that on my caregiving advocate journey, that it's not my job to figure out who's getting the message, how big the message is, how amplified the message is. That's not my job. We do our best with what we think is right, and then we don't always know who is supposed to hear from us.
It's so true. And it has like you said, the stories have a ripple effect, and just sharing your story can have a big impact on somebody. And, I know I had this imposter syndrome when I first started this podcast and this site and everything. And it was like, who am I type of thing. You mentioned that earlier, but maybe I'm 2 steps in front of somebody else who's just getting started. Well, I can yank them up a lot quicker to 2 steps than them fumbling through that. So that's
May I say something about you? I hope this
yeah.
is appropriate. As you know, I really respect and admire you, and I think that what's interesting, what people listening and watching may not know, Elizabeth attends this journaling gathering that we do at Leeza's Care Connection, which is our free center for support. And as much of an authority as you are, and as much of a student of this as you are, and as much as it is in your brain 24/7, and you contribute beautifully, but you also offer your witness to everyone there, and you listen, and you can be a follower and a leader, and that's really lovely. And I don't know if you've always been that way in your life, but when you know so much about a subject, we can always know more. And I take a lot of inspiration from you about your ability to be that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful for those journaling sessions, and they couldn't have happened. First of all, I don't know, you put it out there to have a Zoom with, journaling with Leeza. And I was like, yes, absolutely. Count me in. And so carving out time for that is great. And I am a journaler, but in the same way, I'm a meditator part-time or whatever, but I need guidance on it. It's not the free form part of both of those activities doesn't come very easily for me. And so I have really enjoyed the free form activities on it. And they couldn't have come at a better time, because like some of those questions that you asked us for homework, they really helped me shape, what I wanted to say and what I wanted to reflect on for Mom's Zoom memorial, her eulogy, when we pulled that all together. And it was just these journaling sessions of, Mom is who I admire, and those characteristics. So it's been it's been great on both ends, but I appreciate you, those kind words. And I love that this is recorded and I can go back and listen to that and sink in a little
You
bit
know
more.
what we do. One of the things that we did in the one of the journaling classes was talk about a brag list. Come up with what you're good at, or if you were
You're campaigning, right?
if you were campaigning, what would your platform be? And we do need to be reminded. And plus, that's the most wonderful part of being a woman, is knowing that, if you don't need to sort of unscrew someone else's light bulb to make your light shine bright.
Yes. Abundance. You have a mindset of abundance.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Look at you. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I learned that, and like certain things stuck with me. It's like, yeah, you can be thin and I can be thin. We can both have amazing kids. We can, we both have successful businesses. It's not an either or. And I think the same is true with caregiving, is like, you can be a great caregiver, and you can have a life full of self-care and happiness and health. And so that's what I'm hoping people take away from all this.
But you know what? And I know a lot of people roll their eyes when we say those things, because they think, oh, come on, really? By the time I get mom up, and I've got to constantly watch her, and I've got to come up with activities for her, and I've got to get her fed, and I've got to get her bathed. And, it's so taxing, and I'm so depleted, and I don't have any time or any energy. I get that. We both get that. It is overwhelming, but that's, I think, part of the overall message, which is, how do you become a master delegator, so that you can look beyond the usual suspects of people to help you, and beyond the usual ways of getting help, and find more support and more resources that is more relevant. It's a boundary thing, more relevant to where you are. Because I think that oftentimes we get, for all the right reasons, get stuck in the story of, I don't have time. And because it allows us to put ourselves last. It allows us to disappear from our own lives. And sometimes we may not feel like we want to show up. So that story works for us. So if you're somebody that's telling yourself that story, you really can rewrite, and have to rewrite, that narrative.
Yeah.
Because what you said is so true. You don't have to let go of yourself just because you are showing up for someone else. In fact, it's imperative that you don't.
Exactly. And we all start out doing that, I think, but then with something like Alzheimer's or chronic diseases, we're not talking a little short, hip surgery recovery. These are years and months of your life. And, the only time your kids are going to be these certain ages, potentially, or the only time you're going to be at this stage of your life. And so it is super important, I think, to realize that you're not the only person that can do these caregiver duties. And there are things you're good at, and there's things that maybe you're not great at. And so figuring that out, and that's some of the stuff that we work through with the different resources and things that we provide, because it's not easy, but someone can kind of look at it from that, stepping outside, and just kind of coach you and help you look at it a little differently, and just ask yourself, like, hey, how's this working for you right now? Are you feeling like you're your best self, and are you like who you're showing up as? And if not, then it's like, you're the only one really who can change it.
And the family dynamics, I think we don't really anticipate when caregiving comes in, and you have siblings, and you have a history of, self-labeling, well, the black sheep and the avoider or whatever. You've got those family dynamics. And if you're the one, and a lot of us as daughters are the ones that step up, if you're the one doing that, you want everyone else to step up in the same way. And maybe they can't. Maybe someone lives away. Maybe someone has more financial resources. Maybe someone has more patience. We have to get really honest with ourselves about our bio families and our chosen families, and what they are qualified and able and desirous of offering.
So true. And looking beyond, I think there's help in our families. Like, we tend to kind of look in those pillars, between those pillars, but there is this community of people that you can, there's your church, or the neighbors, or, maybe your parents' best friend, or, you can build your circle of care bigger. So I think that's all good stuff. I want to, I didn't know that you, this whole Celebrity Apprentice thing, I must have checked out after first couple seasons when he was doing it. I did love this, but I'm so I loved hearing that story and reading about it, and getting that from your book, Fierce Optimism, too, and working with Donald Trump, and some of the personalities of the people that you had to work with. But tell us you picked your charity to be your charity, and you won. So tell us about what you have going on with Leeza's Care Connection and everything that you're doing there, and what you're hoping that it will do for people.
Oh, yay. Well, first of all, you had mentioned I think when you introduced me, Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Great experience. One of the toughest things in my life. I can't dance. And I mean, I can't dance. So when the offer came in to do Celebrity Apprentice, I'm like, oh no, I'm not doing another reality show ever.
Mm-hmm.
That was, that just worked my last nerve. And my husband said, well, honey, that was tough for you because you really can't dance, but business. And I think you can do really well. And I went, no, that's okay. Thank you. But I'm drama avoidance. Like I mean, I can cut the crazy in any situation. So that is not my scene, because I'd seen the show.
Yes.
Apparently not enough, but I'd seen the show too. And he said, well, and then he hit me with the toughest, the strongest card he had in his deck. He hit me and he said, well, you talk about how your passion is Leeza's Care Connection, and your dream is to help people know more about how tough it is to be a family caregiver. This is a huge platform, and you could win it, and that's a lot of money. And I went, oh, I mean, he just hit me with my stuff.
Yes.
And I knew that ethically, to be an authentic person, that was the thing that got me to the party. It was, however, the thing that had me on edge, because it's what made me realize what we've been saying. You can be who you are in life and stay true to your guns and be a nice person and not be a pushover and still have boundaries. Like, I think what they thought in the beginning, because it's a competition show, was, okay, we can vote her out immediately because she is not going to make it. What they didn't count on was, I really had my eye on that prize. I had a burning desire. And when you have a burning desire in your life, and I wanted this platform to tell my story, when you have that, you can be unstoppable. And so I got in my lane. I put my blinders on. I didn't look at what they were doing, how they were playing it. I could only play it the way I knew to play it. And it was such a beautiful ending, because it is how I was able to invest in my hometown and open my dream center, which how when you have things in your people talk about their vision boards, when you have something in your mind that looks exactly like that, that was it. I was able to create an even better version than I had in my mind's eye of this community for care for the caregiver, to help people find their courage and to help people connect to their strength, and to know that it's not over, and to know that you'll have to pivot pretty fiercely, but there are positives, and let's celebrate those, and let's be there for each other. So that was super cool.
I love that you went and did it in your hometown too. And your mom had some quote that she said about the pond. Help me remember something about the pond.
It's a poor frog that doesn't praise his own pond.
Yes.
What a Southernism that is.
Yes, I hadn't heard that one, but it does. It's totally rings Southern. But so when people go to Leeza's Care Connection, like what kinds of things can they find and do? And
it's first of all, we exist virtually at leezascareconnection.org. And we also have physical locations in my hometown where I grew up and the town where I live. So I live on the West Coast. I grew up on the East Coast. So if you're in the LA area around, or if you're around the Columbia, South Carolina area, we would love to have you be part of our physical community. But one of the great things we've all learned in COVID is we want to connect regardless, and we want to have that hug however we get it. So we do everything from laughter yoga and chair exercise and line dancing. We do Ask the Doctor and series to help you learn about your legal options. We do self-expression and self-care. We do journaling and meditation and scrapbooking and crafting. And we have 3 buckets. It's education, empowerment, and energy. And so we try to feed that along your journey, because you need all of it.
Yes.
And it's just really, it's been the greatest gift in my life. And I'm so grateful. And shout out to all of our volunteers and our facilitators. They are amazing. And our directors, Marty and Keena. And on the West Coast, we have Allison and Brianna. And it's a beautiful sisterhood.
Yes, it's perfect. It's perfect. And I love that I can participate, like you said, on the virtual front too. Is there anything big on the horizon, like for Leeza's Care Connection, or where's your vision board taking you next related to that?
Yes, we have ambassadors that we call HUGS, which stands for Helping You Grow Strong, HUGS.
Okay.
And these HUGS ambassadors go through a certification program where they learn to be active listeners, and they learn to nurture, and they learn to support, and they learn to care. And these are mostly people that come from a caregiving background, and maybe their loved one has passed. They have all this expertise. They have all of this. They're really just the gems in our crown. And so we thought, how do we gather them together? My dream is to offer HUGS nationwide in communities where, let's say you've got a rec center or a gym or a church or somewhere that you think you could virtually and in person gather together this group of people, where you can spread the gospel of caregiving, of nurturing, of being supportive, where I had a friend who was in AA, and I went to an AA meeting with him, and I was struck by so many things, and people who are in that program or others like it will relate to this. The attendees couldn't wait to tell their story. They couldn't wait to raise their hand and say, I'm so-and-so, and here's my story. And so my dream is for HUGS to be like that. I'm Leeza, I'm a caregiver. Pull up a chair, sit by the fire, sit on the floor with me, and let's make it better. So I hope we can do that ultimately through HUGS. It's a great program now, and I would just like to spread it and make it more available.
I love it. We need more HUGS.
Yeah.
HUGS for sure. I am a part of a smaller thing, Daughterhood Circles, that has started. And we had our social support group last night. Our Daughterhood Circle met, and we usually meet at we were doing some virtually. We just started going back to restaurants as people voted and were comfortable. But it's as much for me as it is for them. And like you said, sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry, we sometimes get a good meal, a glass of wine. Like, it's hard to get people out sometimes. So it's been good. It's just, like you said, it's just good to talk and just give people that forum. And I think I love about doing it locally is that they share the resources, hey, I need somebody that does this and that varies all over the place with the different local venues. So word of mouth is the best advice. So
the Daughterhood Circles are great. That's really lovely.
Yeah. So we need to all there can't be too many of all of that. We need more of that.
Well, to our point about, if you're, a flower, you don't look at the other flower, you just bloom. We all kind of have to bloom. A friend of mine said something to me, and it stuck with me, and I've said it ever since. When I see somebody that has something or is doing something that I want to do, I celebrate it, I acknowledge it, I celebrate it, and I say, good for you, and that's for me. Because it doesn't take anything away from her. Good for you, and that's for me. And to look for ways to be helpful, but to reinforce that if you want that, say it. Say you want it. Say you want to make that thing happen. Say you want to do it, whatever it is. I think that's really helped me acknowledge it through the years.
Yes, perfect. I'm going to practice some fierce optimism. We're talking about vision boards, and so I'm going to put this out there, Leeza, is I had this vision of having a caregiving related talk show. So you're the talk show expert, but how awesome would that be, where people could pull up a chair, talk at their caregiving stories, but then also you could share products. We could have quick recipes that they could do. I don't know. I just had this vision of a caregiving talk show. I think would be amazing. So if you get
it would be great. Yeah. You should definitely do that. It would be great.
Well, it's out in the universe now. So
That's right. That's right.
Interested. What are you hoping? Like, is there anything good that's going to come out of this COVID stuff for caregivers? And
Wow. Well, I think one thing is we're seeing, you know, there's a few tracks for this. Legislatively, we really need more attention.
Mhm.
Um, I think that COVID has given us a chance to look at our local leaders, our national leaders, who are the ones that are really languaging around this issue that's so important to us, and who's really putting resources behind it to help us. I think that's one good thing that's kind of happened. I think that we have found our own ability to sort of uncover parts of ourselves that we may have been afraid of or not wanted to look at. I think that's a good thing. And look, we've proven our ultimate resilience. That's the big cornerstone of fierce optimism is, you can be radically resilient, and we are. And, we're not falling apart, and we're not going into our caves, and we're not stopping connecting with each other. We're figuring out how to deal with it. It's like yes, that happened, and here's what we're doing about it.
Yeah.
So I think there have been some positives. We've figured out how to do. One of the challenging things for us at Leeza's Care Connection is, oh my gosh, if we can't have our annual events and we rely on that operating money, what are we going to do? And okay, we figured out like everyone else, we figured out how to do our virtual events. We have our yearly events called Dare to Care. That's coming up in November, and our theme is Find Your Funny. And so I think that part of what we have realized, we've learned how to laugh at ourselves. We've learned how to go, we are ridiculous. And, technology, when I can't figure things out, I just have to laugh. I get frustrated, but I am ridiculous. Like, okay, do better. And so Find Your Funny is coming up in November. So
We need more of that.
yes, we do.
We need some funny, but like you said, it's been a lot of grieving this year, not just with mom's death, but just all kinds of things, right? Loss of freedom of going out. I was furloughed for a little bit from my day job. So the kids, I'm an empty nester this year. So different kinds of grieving situations. But
Lots of loss.
lots of things like that. But at the same time, silver linings about the pace of life slowing down has been a gift for sure. So I'm sure that's had an impact on you as well, but it's like a double-edged sword. You want to do all of this stuff, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's kind of nice not to have to do it all.
Yeah. And I think it's helped us with our boundaries. It's helped us
Yes.
learn what we need to say no to, what we should be saying no to.
We mentioned the journaling sessions earlier, and I love that you're a journaler. I knew you were a scrapbooker too, because this is something you might not have known about me yet, is that I was a creative memories consultant for 10 years. So I was a big
Oh my gosh.
and storytelling. So I studied broadcast journalism. We have all that in common. And then I fell into IT and did all of that in my professional career. But then scrapbooking was one way of storytelling, and then the journaling. But why is journaling so important to you? Like, what are you getting from that? What is that feeding for you?
I tend to be pretty raw in my journals because they're just for me. I started journaling when I was a young reporter because I thought, wow, this is an amazing life. Like, I was going places that I didn't think I would go, and I was meeting people and experiencing things, and I thought I should be paying attention. But then what I really get out of it is going back and seeing my patterns, because even while I was writing about reports I was doing or documentaries I was producing or whatever, what I wrote most about was not the topics, whatever it was. I wrote mostly about what I was feeling and how I was reacting to it. And, oh, I feel unprepared right now. I feel insecure right now. I'm worried that I'm not going to bring enough to this table. So I began to see, oh my gosh, after years, like, you're going to always be playing that record? Like, what? And right. And it took me longer to see personal patterns of, I was impetuous, and I picked men that weren't in the long game. And I was able to see that. So I think dealing with, I found answers in the pages of the journal. And that's been very, very helpful. I mean, what do you find? What do you get out of your journals?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, even before I was journaling, I started the blog and was blogging. And at first it was very just factual. This is what we did. But to your point, like I've had to really push myself to be more towards feelings. And originally when I was blogging anonymously, and that just didn't feel right. Like it just felt like the story wasn't really getting out there. It was, and mom, I was worried about mom. She was similar to your mom. Like you tell it.
Tell it on the mountain, girl.
Yeah. And proud of, very proud. But so what I started finding is something similar to what you were saying, is like the more I started sharing and being vulnerable, the more transparent I was, the more clearly I saw myself.
Yeah.
So,
It's like focusing your lens on you.
yeah.
And it's been scientifically proven to be such a stress reliever. So we know that stress is at the core. There are a lot of people out there who are the worried well. You think, oh, I'm next in line to get whatever it is. And this is if this works for you, like you said, try things,
Try
try
it on.
whatever's out there, try
Yeah.
it on. If it works for you, if you try it for 5 minutes a day for a month or whatever, see if it helps you feel stronger, better, more resilient, more capable, more sane, more peaceful. Those are the things you're going for. If you're getting that, then stay on it. And
Yeah.
I think the trap for people is when it becomes one more thing that you judge yourself by. Oh, I didn't journal today, or I wrote one line in my journal today. I mean, it doesn't matter. That
Doesn't
stuff
matter.
doesn't matter. So I think that kind of keeps people from jumping in because they feel like they got to be good at it.
Yeah, no. And so it's a great segue to the lightning round. So toward the end of the podcast, we do the lightning round. This is the journal that I wrote because I wanted it to be what you said just there, is that I didn't want it to be hard for people. Just have a little prompt at the top of the page. It's not specific to any year. It is dated. In my journal, I have days skipped. I have days with one sentence, days with longer sentences. But just a fun way to just see how this works for you. So I just kind of went through the different pages, and I have a couple questions for you for the lightning round, and it's
lightning round.
whatever
In
comes
in
to
your
mind.
caregiver talk show, you will also have this game show part.
Yeah, games. It's got to be fun because gosh knows, like we need more fun in this caregiving.
Amen.
So let's see. We kind of talked about this one. Okay, this is good. What is your favorite holiday and why?
Thanksgiving. I love it because it's the least commercial. But beyond that, I love that we're celebrating something obviously within our country, but we're celebrating that sense of abundance within ourselves, which when we know when we are thankful for what we have, we get more. And the definition of happiness is being satisfied with your day-to-day life. So it's a reminder of what are we grateful for. And I started this tradition with my kids when they were little, and my kids are all adults. But we started doing these gratitude hikes, and we would write letters. They have to be written. And we'd write what we were grateful for, whatever we wanted to say to each other or about the world. And we would hike up to the top of Runyon Canyon, which is one of the canyons here in LA. And when we got to the top, we would sit down and read our letters to each other. And it's become wherever we are in the world, whatever's going on, we've done it. And so it's far and away because of that, my favorite holiday.
I love that. We have Kennesaw Mountain, not quite the same, but I may have to try that. I've gotten them to do some journaling related things. Like we do our, the last couple of years, we do our 20 for 20 list, 2019, 19 for 2019, 20 for 2020, like things we want to do that are fun. And so that they'll play with me. So I'll have to try that this year. That sounds great. And great, very timely for everybody listening to this to be able to put that into practice.
And of course I've journaled them, like for my own, I keep them in other words, which is, they're all written. I have the kids' handwriting when they were 7, and then when they started on computers, and now they're printing them. And it's just really sweet to have that kind of snapshot. And they don't whine about it too much.
Yeah, it's not asking too much. Okay, what are different topic? What are 2 of your go-to healthy snacks?
Oh, my go-to healthy snacks. Well, When the pandemic hit, I was in the middle of a keto experience.
Okay.
Right. And I'm now in a quasi keto experience. I think I'm now more in a Mediterranean diet kind of thing. But I did realize that I do like snacking on nuts, and I started it then. I think they are good for my brain, and but this is going to be a, a weird one. My indulgence food, because again it's low in carbs, and I miss ice cream, is I freeze Cool Whip and I eat it out of the freezer as though it's ice cream, and it fakes me out most of the time pretty well.
Do you put anything on it, fruit or anything?
No,
Just eat
no,
it plain. I will have
yeah.
to try that. That's pretty easy and inexpensive. So
Yeah, and you may think not so good, but I like it.
yeah. Well, if it works, it's like whatever works for you. So I'm always up to try new things.
And
I'm not
frozen blueberries are the other one. So if I were to put something on, I would put the frozen
frozen
blueberries.
blueberries.
But
Yeah,
blueberries are good, and frozen just makes them, I just like the texture more.
yeah. That sounds yummy. Okay, next one is currently here we go again. Currently your life feels balanced or unbalanced because ...
Currently, my life feels balanced or unbalanced because I say so. Because I tend to think that if we think it's balanced, it's because we think it's balanced. If it's unbalanced, it's because that's what we think. And we tend to think as we feel. So that would be my answer to that, because I say so. But having said that, my life now feels balanced, feels, you know, I feel that I am really satisfied with the amount of time I'm spending being productive,
Mhm.
which is really an important thing to me. But I'm also happy with the amount of time I'm spending when I'm not productive, and I'm not writing that off as being a waste of time.
Yes. Yeah, I have a feeling I have a very similar personality to you. I have a feeling. So yeah, it's just giving yourself permission to just not be productive um is it's something I'm working on for sure.
And especially now that you're grieving, and allowing
Yeah.
yourself to like do that is hard. It's harder than it sounds. And it hurts.
Yeah, it definitely does. We have some fun to look forward to though. We're going, my sisters are my sister power, we call it. I have two sisters, and then I have cousins that are like sisters. Um, and when our kids become 21, they get to come to Sisters Weekend. So that's next weekend. So I have this like
Oh
oasis
my gosh.
yes of things, and we all need each other big time this year. So it'll be a little bit of a cry fest, a little bit of a um but we feed off of each other, and we're I think you got to have people like that in your life for
Oh,
sure.
you're lucky.
I
You're
am
so
lucky.
lucky.
I am
When my mom died, it was in the summer, but my mom's favorite holiday was Christmas. And so I have these two dear friends, Terry and Zadie, and we would always meet at the beach every summer. And after my mom died, we had Christmas in July,
Aw.
and had a tree and did all that to celebrate mom. So you're gonna have a beautiful time, beautiful gathering. I'm happy for you. That's lovely.
We've been doing this. I was pregnant with Jacob. He's 18, so 18 years.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's great.
it's been great. Well, thank you for doing the lightning round with me. I just wanted to just invite you to, if there was anything that you wanted to add that you wish we would have touched on, parting words of wisdom. Uh, the
Oh,
floor.
you're nice. First of all, you're so easy to talk to, and thank you for all the resources that you put out there for caregivers and for our community, which is just so meaningful. I think, like you, I want people to keep in mind that there's not a caregiver heaven if you do this by yourself. In fact, that's the opposite. To figure out how you can become someone who delegates, because you can, and you absolutely have to. And it's sort of an FDR thing, when you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. So you are in a stressful place, acknowledge that, keep going, see it through, because there's no other option. And you will gain incredible respect for yourself, and you will see your strength, and you will feel your courage by just staying in it.
Lovely.
Obviously, we're here to help you too at Leeza's Care Connection. We would love to help you. We have lots of resources, lots of really fun activities that you can participate in virtually. So we're all in this together, aren't we?
Yes, yes. One more time, the website. How did they find you?
Leeza'sCareConnection.org. Leeza.
Yeah.
Leeza's Care Connection.
If you
Thank
go
you.
there too, you can touch on all the social links and get connected wherever your favorite place to hang out is online.
Yes, thank you. Right, and we'd love to share with you, and it's fun to broaden the circle. You know, you talk about your core, your circle of relevance. It's fun to make it as big as it possibly can be.
Yes, get on the bus. It's way more fun when we're all on the party bus. So
That's right.
yes, thank you
Right.
so much for making this happen. And
Great pleasure.
yes, I appreciate your time and keep being fiercely optimistic. I love watching to see what you're going to do next.
Oh, thank you, my friend. I'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.